So hello everyone, welcome to Imagine Next. So today's live is going about our best part like a nature. So landscape photography will just you heard about it, like you know everyone, like nature and landscape photography. What is the landscape photography and what are the terms in that, what we wanted to cover. So today's session is basically we have a two special guests with us. So one guest is Puneet Verma ji, and he is basically is a IT profession from Bangalore, and Nisi and Vanguard India ambassador. Also, there was a Tripoto staff writer, winner of T5 award, also the Rise and Monochrome award winner. So basically, this is the first, and second is Himadri Bhuyan from is a Nikon influencer. Is from basically is a Guwahati, and is a Nisi ambassador, full-time photographer, winner of Loptio. It's a 35 award. So don't waste the time. Let's get connected with our mentors. So we'll just learn about landscape photography. So Hemendri, let's connect. Okay. And it's a small device, so it's connection. Let me connect. Let me connect with the sir. Hi sir, hello, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Also, I'm trying to connect with the Puneet ji.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so just
I had a slight lag in my network, but I think it's good now.
hello Puneet ji, how are you?
Hi, Jagdish. I'm doing good. Yeah, how are you doing?
Yeah, good sir. So today ImagineX is decided to do some landscape photography about the like what is the parameter about the landscape photography. So directly is hand over it to you. First question is, so just tell me about the what is nature landscape photography.
All right. Before I guess we just start this conversation, I was thinking I just saw the creative, and I just looked at both of us. We have just swapped, the appearances since the time we came. The
Yeah.
last from the and now Himadri has long hair and beard, and I have shorter one, and it's the other way around in the creative. Well, and after such a long time, we are just doing this, and it's amazing to see you, Himadri, again. Great friend, amazing photographer, inspiring guy. So, Himadri, why don't you start? What for you is nature landscape photography? And then we can probably
Yeah,
just
right.
go from there.
So for me, I'd like not to complicate it because if you look at Google or if you check Google, am I audible? Am I
Yes,
properly
you are.
Yes
audible?
sir.
Yes, you are.
Yes sir.
Okay. Okay. So if you Google landscape photography or if you Google landscapes, then you'll come across a lot of definitions. But here are the topic for today is landscape, natural landscapes. So I'd say that anything, any scene in front of us that has less to no human interference, according to me, that will be a natural landscape. When I say less to no human interference, because I'd like to state that a road going through a scene, uh, that has to be included. You cannot do away with the road, right? So that will be a little bit of a human interference. Or for example, if we want to show scale, then we might place a human element, or there might be a small house at a distance that might give us a sense of the scale. So that is why I'd say that little to no human interference, a scene that is in front of you with little to no human interference will be a natural landscape for me. But I'd like to hear what Puneet has to say about it.
I pretty much agree with you, Himadri, on that. And the thing is, when we say landscape, right? So I don't know, maybe I am also culprit of this. During my early days, I used to think landscapes means nature landscapes and it could not be anything else. But that's not true. Really, landscape means anything which covers, a land, essentially a vast escape of a land. And by land, it's a very subjective term. It could also mean, anything involves land or any other elements. But when we say nature landscapes, obviously where the major emphasis is on the nature element of the scene that is in front of you, of the photographer that we are trying to capture. So yes, pretty much that. It also means, of course, that we can also say shooting intimate landscapes or shooting big, wide, expanding landscapes where we are shooting a big scene versus very fine, minute details. They also qualify as nature landscapes, but they would be called minimal landscapes or intimate landscapes. We of course it's just not either restricted to daytime. It can also be to the nighttime, and we call nighttime landscapes, which we call astro landscapes, where we are not really talking about deep sky objects and shooting the space as a subject, but elements of space as a subject, but them as part of an overall scene. So nature, pretty much astro landscapes. They could be seascapes, and then likewise any scene that can unfold in front of us is a nature landscape photography, as long as nature is our primary element, like Himadri said. Personally, I also like to shoot very minimal human elements in my scene. I usually wait for humans to get out of my scene, and I guess probably Himadri also would agree. At the same time, sometimes we do also just to render scale, just to show a scale where a person is standing against the vastness of the scene. So yeah, that varies from scene to scene. But that for me is nature landscapes. Yeah.
Okay. So can you tell me about some gears? What type of gears we required and what type of gears you are using right now?
Absolutely. I guess I would also want to we would want to keep this scene, this discussion to be not just for a very dedicated, I don't want it to sound like a very dedicated niche genre where you need to spend a lot of money to get going, right? You can very much start with a mobile phone as well, right, Himadri? And long as you know what you're shooting and how you're shooting it, what are the techniques you're employing, that's a good starting point. So I would say in contemporary world, let alone the cameras and the DSLRs and all those discussions apart, but probably having a good mobile phone with a good quality, one of those recent phones that we are having is good enough for us to get started with a manual mode, wherein we control, some of the aspects of photography, the elements which essentially make an image, of course, the shutter speed and the aperture and things like that. When it comes to gear or dedicated gear, definitely a good camera with certain specific lenses is always welcome. Himadri, what's your take if you talk about lenses in general, bare minimal ones?
I'd say when it comes to lenses, I'll say a wide angle and a zoom lens are enough. But there, I have seen use of 500 as well when it comes to landscape photography. But the instances in which you use a wide angle lens will any day outweigh or outscore the number of times when you use a 500 lens. So for beginners, I'd say a kit lens is enough to start landscape photography. And as you progress, as you find your own calling within the landscape genre, you can go for other lenses as well. My favorite lenses would be 1635 and 7200 lens. Say for example, traveling in a location like Ladakh, or for example Spiti, you'll come across both wide open spaces and you'll come across dramatic scenes that are happening at a distance. So to capture both of them, you'll need both wide lenses and zoom lenses. So those are important. And then coming to landscape photography, another important gear that we use is the use of filters.
Absolutely.
During my initial days, I used to travel very light, and I didn't use filters till 2019. But since 2019, I have been using NISI filters, so that's the only filter that I have been using, like CPL, that is circular polarizer, then like ND filters, different gradients of ND filters like ND6 or ND10. Those things, filters are important. Then a headlamp will be an important addition to your gear list. Tripods are anyways important because during daylight when you are shooting, that's fine, but tripods will be important when you are doing advanced, when you are going for advanced shooting techniques like bracketing, or it could be exposure bracketing, it could be focal length blending as well. So you will need to put your camera on a tripod so that the frame does not change, so that the change in a little bit of an angle in your lenses also will induce a lot of errors or problems in stitching those images
Yeah,
later on.
yeah,
Then coming to nightscapes, maybe Puneet can go ahead and tell us about what are important for nightscapes,
absolutely.
the
But
gears
even
which are
before
important
that,
for nightscape.
yeah, and like you mentioned about tripods, Himadri, right? And tripod, I think when you, as and when we get serious about photography, right, you want to experiment more. You want to try a lot of things. And one of those things where you want to create, unique imagery, you want to experiment, you want to push your limits. And one of those clear-cut applications for me, and I'm a huge, you can say, advocate of, playing with shutter speed. And I'm just not mentioning, always very long shutter speeds. It could be very slow shutter speeds. I mean, shortish, longish sort of burst of shutter speeds as well. But that is exactly when the tripod becomes even more important, and the usage of filters becomes even more important. So that's one thing. And obviously, like if we talk about night photography, right, a basic camera with a good lens. When I say a lens, which has good capability, which is a wide open lens, at least a 2.8 is usually very good. I mean, though we have been shooting with f4, both Himadri and I, recently we have been upgrading our kits, but a good lens which at least an f4 is a good starting point. 2.8 even better, because we need to collect as much light as possible during the night, because it's not the day scene. The scene is already very well, very down in terms of brightness values. So you need to capture as much light as possible. That basically means you need to be capturing for longer shutter speeds, maybe in seconds, maybe in minutes. And then of course you would be taking in at wider apertures. So a fast open lens definitely is there. Of course, you would be needing a tripod, goes without saying. And then things, accessories which are very much tied to this are not just the basic camera and the lens, but also, your headlamp, very much needed during shooting, with a red light feature especially, because that does
Yeah.
not really, the red light doesn't really blind you or the people around you, and that is such a pitfall we usually end up falling in. And we talk to people and we rightly flash into their eyes and they lose their
Yeah.
night vision for a bit. So that's not needed at all. So I always say, whenever you're buying a headlamp, invest in a good one. Decathlon even has good ones for a good starter, but with the red light feature. And then obviously, having spare batteries, power banks, spare memory cards or CF cards, or one of those newer A cards that we're getting these days with the newer cameras, definitely are needed, because you're going to shoot more and more, especially when we talk about night photos. Yeah, like doing star trails, we are going to take hundreds of photos for hours, and we need sufficient space for them to be captured on the camera. So yes, I guess that's bare minimum. And when you talk about, like,
So
of course, then yeah,
yeah,
go ahead,
I
please.
just wanted to ask her one thing. I also love take a landscape photography, but there are certain, like, there was a plan. If you wanted to do the plan, or you have to doing directly to go like a mood.
I I understand your point. Himadri, you want to take this first? Because both of us have been culprits of learning our own ways and doing things on the fly, on the go, and slowly, slowly. I guess what you're asking is how, I mean, what is better, being a reactive photographer or being a proactive photographer, right?
Yes, yes,
Both have got their merits. And let's face it, when all of us start, right? I've been shooting for about 12 years now. Himadri even more. And we just started out just seeing things, processing and observing scenes around us and trying to capture them. And slowly we transition into, how can we make those scenes happen rather than let them happen and shoot them. Yes, also happens that when you're shooting nature landscapes, you are not everything goes as planned. But yes, definitely slowly as you graduate, in terms of your photography journey, I believe you tend to become more of a proactive photographer, a planning photographer, than just a reactive photographer. Himadri, what do you think?
I'd agree to what Puneet has mentioned. There are certain times when it is not possible to do a recce of your location beforehand. So in those instances, you will always rely on your reactions to the landscape or to the scene that is unfolding in front of you. And in certain cases, when you are going to a landscape, when you have the opportunity of going to a landscape over and over again, then it's always better to plan it out ahead. say for example, I'd like to mention the name of Sandeep ji, who does a lot of uh, 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 monument photography, like historical monument photography, and he blends in, or he tries to capture it in different uh, astronomical
Celestial events.
events.
Yeah,
Say for
yeah,
example,
yeah.
yeah, celestial events. So for those kind of situations, you will have to plan it ahead. Uh, for other times, it is more of reactionary kind of shooting, where you are shooting uh, depending on what is inspiring you, or depending on what is making a connection with you.
Yes.
So that's what I'd say. But for reactionary kind of photography, or for or to plan ahead, you need to be fast. You need to have a lot of practice, so that the moment the scene uh, you arrive at the scene, you know what is it that you want, and you already have calculated it in your mind, what lens you would put on, what shutter speed you'll go for, what kind of scene you'll include,
Yeah,
or what
yeah.
kind of or what is the area that you'll be including in your scene, whether you'll be going for a panoramic scene, or whether you'll be going for a wide scene with a single take. All those things will happen both
Right.
as a reaction to what you're seeing, and also as a planning of what you intend to shoot, or what you have imagined.
Absolutely. And I guess to be reacting to the scenes, you need to be, very well versed with your gear, whatever gear you have, even if you have mobile, or even if you have a dedicated SLR camera with all kinds of rigs and gear. But long as you're not aware of your gear, how to leverage it on the fly, then it's just all waste. So you need to be very well versed with your gear
Right.
so that you can pretty much react fast, react in efficient manner, I guess. And especially for landscapers, it makes
Practice
a
is
lot more sense. And practice. Practice is what
Yeah,
makes you
practice. Practice
perfect, I
is
guess.
important,
Yes,
because
yes,
unless you practice it beforehand, you cannot arrive at the scene, and you cannot ask others, like, okay, I don't know how my gear functions, so could you come and help me?
yes,
Like, if there are three, four people
yes,
shooting the same scene, so they would rather shoot the scene out with your newfound gear, right?
yes.
When it comes to our tours, we do a lot of handholding, we do a lot of mentoring, where we do not take our shots, but we see what our clients
Absolutely,
or what our participants
absolutely,
are willing to shoot.
absolutely,
We try to understand that is willing to help you out. Then what will you do? You cannot just
absolutely.
rely on maybe you got a shot by mistake, but you do not know how to replicate it over and over again. That is because you do not have practice. So
Absolutely.
that is another important thing that you need to keep in mind when you're shooting, yeah, shooting landscapes.
And the idea is you don't have to go out there at the scene and practice it. You can just go outside your house, go in your
Right.
neighborhood, go hell, you can go on your rooftop and just practice, the same scenes, under different lights, under different weathers, and just get to learn your gear first. I think that's the tip I always give to beginners, that get to know your gear inside out. You should it should become one with you. I mean, that's where you can be the most efficient and because unless you're efficient, your creative
I've
mind will
seen
stop.
people,
Yeah.
yeah, I've seen people fumbling with their filters. I've seen people fumbling with their tripods. I've seen people fumbling with their remotes. I've seen people fumbling with their settings as well. Like, they don't know what is it that they want to achieve, and then they end up fumbling. And say for example, a beautiful sunset is happening in front of you, so already your mind has gone into an overdrive mode, that I need to capture this in, I need to capture this in. And process, you tend to make a lot of mistakes if you do not have prior practice of those uh,
Absolutely.
times and of those settings. So
Absolutely.
Okay, as of
again,
now,
I'll come back to that. Practice is very important.
yeah. So can you give me the some a beginner tips, like whoever like one new photographers is coming in landscape
Mhm.
photography. So what are the tips you can give?
If I were to
Go
tell,
ahead,
right,
Puneet.
the first thing is, yeah, shoot, shoot. Especially as a beginner, I mean,
Okay.
like I say, right, you got to diverge first, before converging. So you have to
Okay.
expand, experiment, and try as much as possible before you even get to know what you like. And that's when we say what you like, it becomes a style, it becomes a vision, it becomes your identity. And it is applicable to any form of photography for that matter, any form of life also for that matter, any life passion, right? But when we say, especially in landscapes also, right, there are different genres, different subjects that you can shoot. Like what attracts you, unless you do shoot it and then come back and process it and understand what is working out for you, what is not working out you, and seek inspiration. Another thing is seek inspiration, a lot of inspiration from photography sources, your favorite photographers, different YouTube channels, tutorials, whatever is at hand. Try to leverage that as much as possible. Basically, gain information and then try to filter it out and shape it. So always shoot and gain as much as, and train your eyes. Training your eyes is much more important, because sometimes we just get into this sense of complacency about our photography. The sort of images we make, we are good with them, and we don't want to really try out something different, because we are not probably seeking inspiration also from outside. But when we start doing it, we do go for a reboot, and we start exploring new horizons and new type of image making, new techniques for that matter, be it shooting on the field, be it processing. These all things definitely will make you better. And I guess, Himadri, you would agree, and I would want to hear your thoughts on the processing side of things. One is shooting, another thing is processing, right? What's your take on that for the beginners?
I'll come to processing, but the first and foremost thing that I'd like to say is, when you are shooting landscapes, you are just not, okay, fine, you are practicing just outside your house, or you are going out to locations uh, which are close to your house. So
Yeah.
that is your practice ground. But
Yes.
when you are into landscape photography, there is a lot of travel involved with it, right? So you need to know about your locations as well. That is also very much important. As a newcomer, you cannot just say that, okay, first I'll concentrate on my on my practice, and then whatever happens in location happens in location. You cannot say that. Say, for example, if you are coming to Meghalaya, you are a first timer, you are coming to Meghalaya in the month of July, then chances are 90% chances, or there is 90% chances of it getting whitewashed or washed
Yeah.
out, because there will be a lot of rain. Now, if you do not do your homework first and you end up going to Meghalaya in the month of July, you are not going to get clear skies. You are not going to get stars, and you are not going to get enough shooting time, because it will pour like anything.
Yes.
Okay. At the same time, if you are thinking that, okay, let's go to Meghalaya in the month of December, and I have learned certain things. I have learned how to shoot waterfalls. I have learned how to shoot Milky Way, all those things. Let's go to Meghalaya and then shoot there. In December, you won't get these things, because it completely dries out. The moment the rain stops, the the scenes or the waterfalls in Meghalaya comes down to a trickle. Another thing, when you are shooting nightscapes, you need to know what happens at what time. What is the Milky Way season? What is the season when you get broken star trails? What is the season when you get good star trails? You also need to understand, like, when you are shooting certain scenes, where, say for example, you have framed it in your mind that, what if I get this waterfalls with the northern star trail? And in reality, that is not possible, because the waterfall faces south.
Yes.
Okay, so all these things will become useless unless you do a little bit of study of your location. To
That.
study the location, you have Google Maps. To study the location, you have images of other people who have already shot there. And now if it is a new location or if it is a location that others have not covered extensively, then you always can rely on Google Maps and check out the terrain. You have different applications like what is that,
Photo
photopills. You have
pills, yeah,
photopills,
for that
or you
matter.
have
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
similar other applications that will give you the augmented reality of how the sun will be positioned, how the Milky Way will be positioned, or how the moon will be positioned in relation to a certain scene at a certain point of time. So these things you need to understand as well, apart from practicing and apart from having a good idea of your gear.
Absolutely. And before I think we
There
continue,
are
Himadri,
some
I'm seeing a lot of our
sample images.
common friends. I just want to say a lot of our common friends have joined in, and hi to all of them. Yes, and
Hello everyone.
yes. So
Stellarium I haven't used. Uh,
I do
Stellarium I
use
haven't used. Okay.
I use Stellarium, and it's a pretty good app for especially to plan the nightscapes and the celestial events, and just extrapolate, like sitting at the comfort of your home. You can plan the entire year, literally. Just a certain GPS location you put in, and just see what lies where in terms of all the celestial activity happening all across the day and night. So definitely, Stellarium is a very good app that you should definitely use. Yes, on the be in the desktop or
And
the Mac or
I should give a disclaimer here that I am more of a old school guy. So the moment I realize where is not, that's it. So I don't need any other apps and I don't need any other softwares to tell me what is happening where or what will be emerging where. So part of it is because of my background in geography, and part of it is because of the practice that I have done on the field. So I know like in which direction I need to see in the month of May to see the Milky Way, and at what time will it rise. In the in the month of August, in which direction I need to see and at what time to see the Milky Way properly. So also the latitude and longitude plays another important role when you are trying to capture these night scenes. So I generally go with light gear, and I would also, in fact, I have suggested that a headlamp is important, but then in most of the cases, 99% of the time, I operate in night in the dark without the use of a light. That is because I have a good practice of my camera and its buttons, where the buttons are, what they will do. So once you have a good idea, or once you have a good muscle memory of what is there in your camera, you don't even need a headlamp uh, to help you operate at night. So yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. And obviously, there's a sense of comfort and sense of, I mean, there's a pragmatic reason why you use a lamp for that matter, a headlamp for that matter, right? But yes, and I can vouch, guys, have shot enough alongside Himadri, and yes, he's literally can operate. He has a night vision, just like a lion, perhaps. I mean, normal people don't have it. So yeah, for sure. I guess there are some questions flowing in. We can probably take them up at some point later, and maybe just continue the discussion, and then we can. Yes, we certainly should take up the questions as well. So
Maybe Jagdish
Yeah,
ji
before
can
that, I
note
have to
down
ask.
one or two
There are
questions.
so many questions we have.
yes,
Uh,
yes,
Yeah.
so I'll ask you the question if it is a good. But I just wanted to ask you about monochrome or color for landscaping. Monochrome or color?
Himadri,
What type of
should I or I
photography
should?
is good? Like
So
black and white or
uh,
color?
Puneet does a lot more monochrome than me, but I have a fascination towards monochrome. So if someday you come and tell me that you will have to take a vow that from today you will either shoot color or either shoot monochrome, then I'll say I'll go with monochromes. I'm not going to go with colors. There are
Absolutely.
two reasons why. Yeah, there are two reasons why. We don't see the world in monochrome. So I would like to, first I'd like to see myself how it looks in monochrome and then show it. And another thing, when it comes to monochrome, could you, Jagdishji, could you go to that monochrome slide that was there?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you look at these scenes, all of these scenes have different treatments and different styles of monochromes. Some are very high key. Say, for example, the bottom left scene that you see there, and that you see here, there is a tiny human being in the scene that was there, that I had included for the scale. So if you look at these images, I don't think it will look as dramatic as you find it here when you are presenting it as a monochrome scene. In
As a
these
color scene.
scenes, when you portray these, in these scenes, when you portray them in color, there will be a lot of. First of all, you can't produce the uh, snow scene in color and make it look different, any different than what you see here. So I might as well make it a monochrome scene. Then coming to the tree scene that is on the lower bottom right corner. So there were a lot of other color twigs in the scene, so it was distracting my view. That is why I decided to go with the monochrome treatment. Similarly, coming to the lightning shot, uh, lightning produces different colors at different times depending on its intensity. Sometimes it produces blue, sometimes it produces purple. The purple that it produced while I was shooting this scene, it looked unnatural. That's why I decided to go with monochrome. Similarly, with the sleeping Buddha scene, that was shot from an aeroplane, and it's a panorama shot from an aeroplane. So I was flying from
I can't
Guwahati to
believe
Delhi.
you. I can't believe you.
So, as I was traveling from Guwahati to Delhi, I came across this scene, and I had my 70-200 lens on my camera. So, as you know, it will give you a tight scene or tight view of the scene. So, I wanted the entire scene. So, I just did a panorama through the airplane window. I had to do a lot of work in post because there were a lot of things. But okay, let me not get into that story. The point I'm trying to make is uh, the way the snow or the ice cap peak stands out here against the different grades of gray and black. It won't look the same when we are presenting it in color because there will be different hues of blue in this scene. Similarly, the night shot, I just wanted to see how a night scene would look, how a star trail would look in monochrome when it comes to faint trails.
Absolutely.
Again, you
Absolutely.
cannot factor out colors from your scene because colors is what will make more people connect to your scene, because a lot of people they do not have the ability to connect to monochromes. If you show the same scene in color and if you show the same scene in monochrome, you'll find less takers in monochrome than in the color scene.
Mental.
So
Yeah.
that's the reality of life, and that's the truth, because a lot of people get connected with color, they are unable to connect with monochrome.
I guess
So a
I
bit
call
of
it the
both.
seduction of color. I guess I call it the seduction of color, Himadri, as you always call it, because it's just something
Yes.
which is obvious, which is in front of your eyes, and you instantly connect with. And yeah, and I guess that's the reason why I also want to do black and whites, especially because you have to let go of the color seduction and push your limits. Okay, fine. Everything we know how it looks in color. How is the alternate reality view? But come on, let's just face it. Black and whites don't exist in life, right? That is just a photographer's vision.
Right.
So we want to see that
Absolutely.
alternate reality. And I think it's the curiosity within us as photographers, like how would this scene look in monochrome without the colors? Because when we take the colors out of the scene, what remains is the brightness. What remains is the relationship with the brightness of the values. I mean, if you see this particular photos that we are seeing, right? Even the lightning shot, if we see Himadri's one, the light, the bolts are like absolutely the brightest part in the scene. And if you see the trees and all the foliage and everything else is so dark. So there's a clear cut contrast, which is nothing but the separation of these brightness values of high brightness values versus low brightness values. So this basically reduces the image or a scene to its bare minimum in terms of brightness values. And I guess that, as a photographer, we all should aspire to explore. I mean, that's me, Himadri, and a lot of our friends are huge proponents of trying out black and white photography, if not always, but see how much ever, we can try and do it in our workflow. So I guess, yes, definitely. But Himadri, I think I have one more question for you. I usually ask people, and maybe we have discussed this also, like people usually associate monochromes with melancholy or dark mood, but that is not correct at all. What do you think about it?
I don't think anything at all. If I feel
Yeah,
connected with the monochrome, I go with the scene in a monochrome treatment.
yes,
If
yes,
I feel connected with the colors of the scene, then I will go for the colors.
absolutely.
That's it.
And I think I also want to
So
add this.
yeah,
I want to also at this point, guys, we can go about, giving our own philosophy about black and white versus color, but sometimes scenes also dictate themselves. Sometimes the light also dictates. Though I want to believe that there is no such light called bad light, but sometimes you don't get that striking image just because of the light which is unfolding at that very moment. And soon as you convert into monochrome, you still get a keeper image. So sometimes it is also governed by sheer chance or the luck or the scene that dictates it, and it just happens. It just so happens that you'll end up turning an image into monochrome. Obviously, I don't shoot into monochrome. I shoot with monochrome in mind, so I convert my images later. So yeah, definitely,
I
that's about.
sometimes shoot in monochrome because what happens in raw, anyways, the color details are always there in a raw photograph. So even if you shoot in monochrome, there is no harm because that will actually give you a better reading of the light. So I sometimes shoot my scenes in monochrome, but
And
I shoot
that's
in raw.
yeah, yeah. You can always convert them.
Yeah.
I guess there are some
So
questions we can
there
probably
is this
take them.
question.
Yeah.
There
Yeah,
was a one question, the mechanical eyes.
yeah.
Okay, so how to analyze the moon phase and moon rise along with the position of the Milky Way? How to how do you shoot if it is not totally new
Totally
moon?
new moon, exactly. So
Yeah. Can you tell me
Go ahead,
about this?
Puneet.
of course you have to plan it. Uh, One thing, it's always better to plan it to be able to predict how the moon phase and how the Milky Way phase, how absolutely everything at a given location at given time and point will look like. You definitely have to sit at home and plan, right? And for that, there's no dearth of applications today. Photopills being one of them. I mean, there's so many others, and a lot of internet research. With the moon, the best part about the celestial events, if we talk about, right, they are just like, as they call, I'm from IT, I would want to use an analogy called infinite loop. So they are just happening in a certain way all over the air again and again and again. So it's just a mechanical rhythm. It's like a clockwork, right? All you have to do is to be able to have, back in the day when there were no apps, people used to do, read charts for them. Now those charts are translated into apps, and then add to that the technology features like augmented reality, where you can just point and you're standing at a location, just point it somewhere and it can draw the rough diagram of those celestial features like Milky Way, moon, sun, or whatever, right, or stars, and you can pretty much predict how it would look like at given time and point. And then you can scroll through time window and see how will it all move around, right? That is one thing. So definitely planning ahead is the most key part of it. But as in when you shoot more and more, you, like Himadri said, right, your eyes get trained, you have a general understanding of direction sense and weather sense and a climate sense, and you start making all of those things in your head, those calculations, so you don't really necessarily have to be very nerdy about it either. So I guess that's my take on it. Yeah, but definitely there are apps for that, like photopills for that matter. And coming to the moon phase part, right, see, like I said, yes, if there is a full moon, right, and it will be so bright that nothing else would be visible, stars and hence all of the features would not be as visible, right? So then shoot according to that, because that is the best time to shoot your landscapes, because the land in the night it will be just lit up. And I have seen moonrise happening in my life so many times, where the complete dark scene suddenly turns bright. It's suddenly as if we are in a football stadium or a cricket stadium, and suddenly the floodlights have turned on. I've seen that transition happening, in by my own eyes. So I would say you have to shoot the right time at the right time. You have to choose the right phase of the moon. And even if you want to shoot around full moon, yes, then you cannot shoot everything. Then you probably have to find that window when there is new moon or a week before and after that. That's the best time to shoot. As and when then it changes, you have to accept the fact that you cannot be shooting those things that you want to shoot. So planning at the right season, at the right time, at the right moon phase is the key.
Okay.
Also, another thing that you need to keep in mind is if you are shooting for the Milky Way, then darkest of the nights are better than brighter nights, because brighter nights, by brighter nights I mean like maybe half moon or beyond. So during those times, you will either have to wait till the moon has set or moon has not yet risen to take your Milky Way shots, and then you will have to end it as the moon starts coming out, or you cannot start as the moon is there. The moon will set and then the Milky Way will rise, and then you shoot the Milky Way. So either plan it
Absolutely.
for the darkest of the nights, or you plan it for the time when the moon is not interfering with the light of the Milky Way, because there will be a little bit of light leak from the moon onto the sky, which will make the sky a little bit bluer, and which will also reduce the intensity of the faint stars, which
Yeah.
are
Yeah.
present in the sky. First thing. Second thing that you need to keep in mind is, if you want to shoot the scene in a better way, in better light, then go for moonlit scenes during the night,
Yeah.
because the darkest of the nights will make you bump up your ISO, which will introduce a lot of noise, and which will also introduce a lot of hot pixels, because you will be taking more shots. What we do during the darkest of nights is we stack for the dark areas. We shoot at very high ISO and then we stack the scenes. When you are shooting at very high ISO, you are already introducing a lot of noise into your scene, and on top of that, because you are shooting for extended shutter speeds or extended period of time, you are introducing hot pixels. These becomes very difficult to handle. Now, another thing that you could bring in while you are shooting during the darkest of nights is you could light up your foreground using an external light source.
Absolutely.
A friend of ours is very good at doing so. His name is Ashish Kamble. So you all can go and check his images. So he does a lot of light painting, and he shoots during the darkest of the nights. So
Absolutely.
these are the
Yes.
things that you need to keep in mind. There is another question from Whispers of Shutter. What is your best moment? For me, the best moment till date has been to watch total solar eclipse in Timor, East Timor, last April, where me, Puneet, and Sandeepji were there. So I have been chasing solar eclipses for past more than 12, 13 years, I think 14 years now.
Yeah.
So I cursed myself when I missed the total solar eclipse happening over Assam in 2009. So I got to see the total solar eclipse. That in itself was the best thing that has happened while I was shooting the eclipse. So yeah, till date, shooting the total solar eclipse totality, because it happened for it happened for 1 minute 15 seconds, and of those 1 minute 15 seconds, I think I stopped shooting for around 20-25 seconds, and I looked at the totality with my bare eyes, and then I went back to shooting again.
That
So
was
I had to do it because I wanted to experience the totality with my naked eyes. So whether you shoot it or not, that's not important.
absolutely.
Whether you experience it and what that experience has created within you, that is more important for me. So before solar eclipse, probably it would have been the best. The best time of my life would have been getting lightning over a waterfalls called Nokkalikai. I would have rated it the best, but then total solar eclipse happened and I got to view it. So that's it.
In fact,
What about you,
the
Puneet?
same lines, uh, there was a question by Shikhar Gupta. By the way, Shikhar is one amazing landscaper and astro landscaper. He does a lot of deep sky scenes, just amazing, and so much to learn from him. He was asking also on the same lines as Madhuja was asking that while being planned definitely helps, what has been the most serendipitous shoot you have had? So if I were to tell you really, I would probably just this moment in Zanskar, because another great photographer, I think he's there in this called this cute little guy called Tanay Das, and he has been just just pushing the envelope, so to speak, so much in in creating amazing night sky imagery, especially from Zanskar, especially from this mountain called Gonborongsan. And of course, I have to admit, a lot of people, he has inspired a lot of people to go stay at Gonborongsan and shoot it in different lighting conditions, including nights. I wanted to really, I went there in a season when you could still see the whole complete Milky Way panorama, Milky Way arch spanning across the sky. And thankfully, it actually spans perfectly, aligns up perfectly with the arching around the Gonborongsan mountain. I think if you can just go in one of those, Jagdish, this in the nightscapes slide, I think that image should be there. So the moment we reach, yes, so the first image on the left side is what I'm talking about. I mean, seeing such kind of scenes unfold, especially because about half an hour, maybe 1 hour before that, there was completely cloudy. I had lost complete hopes. As as a curious person. But when it comes to being a seasoned photographer, I have to call myself, because I've been shooting for quite some time now, and I knew that I had to be patient and maybe it might open up. And man, it opened up. It was around 1 o'clock is when I shot this scene. And people who have done nightscapes, shooting panoramas, they know, I mean, making this kind of scenes, like Himadri was talking about, techniques like stacking and blending, right, where you have to take multiple shots and then joining them later to reduce the noise. Now, and then you have to make a panorama of such images. And this is not a single row panorama, it is a multi-panel panorama. So basically, I am standing there in the middle of the night when it opened up at around 1 o'clock at what, maybe -5 degrees, wearing all the layers that I had, and still just, bone chillingly cold it was, and I still just barely able to like breathe properly, but I had to take this shot. So, scenes like this, when you've lost hope and suddenly when the sky opens up and things like, the features show up, it just, justifies all the effort. So I guess for me, this was the moment, one of the moments. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think there was a more questions coming in and down. I'm just checking
Yeah.
out.
So I think somebody was asking 1855 good, the crop sensor. Of course, like Himadri has already said, maybe if you were not joined, any lens, no lens is bad lens, no gear is bad gear. It's good to start, yes, as in when you want to, get better in terms of image quality, in terms of the raw data that you get within the camera. Of course, camera and lens combination start mattering, but definitely for a starter, all of us started at some point. Definitely a kit lens is the way to go. No problem about that.
That is 1855. And
Yeah,
lots of
yeah,
loves are coming in our comments. Both are
Yeah, yeah.
great photographers and sharing the good knowledge about the landscape photography. So there was. I just wanted to ask one thing. Is part of not part of photography. It's part of AI. What is your thinking about AI?
so you mean the AI photography, AI images that are being doing
Yeah,
rounds?
yeah, yeah.
For me, I think
So they,
it's a different. Yeah, Himadri, go ahead.
no, you go ahead. You go ahead.
Okay, it's like asking, back in the day they were just film cameras. Then came the digital cameras, right? And then
Yeah.
back then you could just was shooting. You could not see what you have shot unless you process the film, right? And likewise, then came the digital cameras where you can always see what you have shot. Something called chimping, right? As photography jargon goes, like you shoot and see, you shoot and see. So likewise, it's a there are always two sides to the coin, right? For me, I look at AI as a technology which should help you enable better, right? And I would not consider it in any means any competition to human art form. Simple as that, period. And this is what I feel. This is what I will always believe in. For me, photography is going out there, shooting those images, processing those images, and then presenting those images. And it is not about sitting at your home, opening Mid-Journey and just creating some image by writing keying in the text. By the way, that's a different thing altogether. There's another channel of your creativity. Amazing. All hats off. But it is not exactly the photography as we know it. Yes, but how can we leverage AI? I would say, AI is all about, capturing more and more data, feeding into the software, and the software getting smarter to help you do your jobs, right? So in this case, I would rather like to use the AI enabled tools, which can help me, process my images in a more efficient manner, not necessarily help me cut corners and take some shortcuts, instantly pop my images in my processing. No, I'm talking about leveraging those tools, which can make my life easier. Like when we are talking about processing images, right, there are many a times we have to blend images into, we put image, let's say we talk about Photoshop, we take multiple shots and we then put them on top of each other as layers, and then we have to make certain selections. Selection making part can be sometimes intricate, sometimes can be too time consuming, like noise clearing part would be too time consuming. So as and when AI is getting into these tools are getting better, they are making life easy for processing. So I would rather like to look at that as leveraging to help efficient make my workflow even more efficient, rather than just cutting corners and making good looking imagery without even putting any effort. Then there is no work to it. Like all of these images that you see, some of them are mine here. These are fine art sort of images that we want to create. We want to go there, we want to be there in the moment and shoot it with a certain vision in mind. So yeah, there is no comparison, but we have to use and leverage AI. That's what I look at it. That's how I look at it. Himadri, what do you think?
I'd say without shooting, there is no self-satisfaction.
Absolutely.
So me sitting at home, typing a few words and creating an image out of it, that is not photography. That is, in fact, recently the terminology has come out wherein AI generates images which are closer to photographs, and that terminology is synthography. It is not photography. For a photograph to be created, there has to be a sensor, and the sensor has to be painted by light.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yep.
Photography, like photo means photons, and graphy
Yes.
means the art of painting with photons, right?
Absolutely.
And so AI photography is a term that should not exist, because AI is not photography. AI is digital art. Yes, we also do we also do fine art kind of work with our images, but that fine art is a end product of our images. That fine art is not an end product of images that are created by typing certain words. So for me, going to the field, failing there over and over again, and then coming back home, planning again going back to the field and shooting and getting the shot as I have envisioned, that will give me self-satisfaction rather than some AI BS that has come up in recent times. And as Puneet has said, it needs to make our life easier. Yes, it will make our lives easier, but AI is not the end of photography. That's what I would say.
Not
So
at all.
if you go to my slides of night shot, I think I have a slide that has night shots.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This one.
the top right corner image of the star trails with the waterfall. It took me 3 years to create that. Several attempts and 3 years to create that.
Oh, such a long
So,
time.
but right now, if I type in a few words, waterfall and star trails, AI will generate an image and it will give me multiple options to choose from. But does it do justice to my vision, or does it do justice to my, how should I say, my efforts in the field? Not at all. Maybe it can polish my images in a better way in the near future. But apart from that, I'm not going to use AI to do any kind of photography thing
Yeah. I mean, it's just different
till my
field
last
of,
breath,
yeah,
probably.
it's a
Yeah,
different field of
yeah,
creativity.
yeah,
Exactly. And I respect it that way. And full
yeah.
respect to the people who create amazing AI art these days, but that's different. That's not photography. That's where we are at. Yeah.
Right.
All right, sir. All
Hello, Gopal
questions.
bhai. Namaste. Gopal ने
क्या
हाय
हाल चाल
बोला है.
गोपाल भाई? Yes. क्या हाल चाल गोपाल भाई?
Audible?
Yes, you are. Jagdish.
Yeah. So I have one more question. Can you tell me about the fitness for if you are doing a wildlife photography? So we need that kind of like if I visited in Leh Ladakh, so there was air pressures are coming in. Like so for the fitness perspective, what you're thinking?
Himadri, I want you to start
So
this.
fitness wise, probably I'm one of the most unfit guy.
He is
When
lying.
you look at
He
me,
is
I'm
lying.
uh, no, I'm one of the most unfit guy. But why I succeed is because of what is in my mind. I don't let my physical problems take over my mind and tell me that I will not be able to do it. So that aside, fitness is important because last year me and Puneet we went for this Kashmir Great Lakes trek. So had I been more fit than what I was at that point of time, I would have enjoyed the trek and at the same time shot a lot of scenes. I did less shooting, I did more walking, and as I was walking, my mind was totally involved in or totally engrossed in the walking part. I did not enjoy the scene as I was passing by. But if I am fit, and if walking in thin air and walking in high altitude is like having water with your food, you don't think about it, right?
Yeah,
It is like breathing. You don't think about it. So when you're fit in those locations, it will help you enjoy your time as well. At other points, it's all a matter of mind over matter because last year I wanted to test myself and it was not even 2 years of my spine surgery that I undertook that KGL trek. I told Puneet that I'm dead sure I'll be coming back. I'll be returning on the second day, or first day or the second day itself. But thankfully, I completed it. But as I was completing it, I, I, I always had this in mind that I'll go back home and I'll try to get more fit so that I do not have to think about the consequences that might
yeah,
come along with you being unfit. And when you are in a location where help will be very far away.
absolutely. And
So fitness
and think about it.
is
I mean,
important.
yeah, as landscapers, we are essentially outdoor photographers, right? We are not shooting in a studio environment. We are out in different weathers and climates and against different elements of nature. Against, I mean, within the different elements of nature, right? I won't use the term against because that's what we love to shoot. But like imagine carrying as in when you grow into your photography, you want to carry more gear, because different gear for different reasons, and your camera bag, your tripod bag, and everything around it. And then like if you are going on a trek like this Himalayas trek, right? You're also carrying your lunch, you're carrying your water bottle, and you're carrying your rain cover and whatnot. So
Every day
you
we
are
were carrying
easily carrying on
close
your own
to
about
11
10
or
plus
12
kgs.
kilos
Yeah,
every day.
yeah.
Yeah,
10 plus kgs
every day.
it becomes. So definitely you need to be fit because if you're not fit, not that you would be able to do the thing, you will not be able to photograph because you will be still struggling to even catch your breath, let alone thinking about a scene creatively and executing it. So definitely fitness for life in general and especially for an outdoor photography, landscape photography is an absolute must. It is an absolute must. So yes.
Yep.
Again,
Abhilash Biswal has this question. Sorry, Jagdishji, I'm interrupting you. Biswal has that question that we have already answered. So, do we need to plan for travel photography or should we enjoy traveling as well as clicking pictures? You can do both. In certain cases, if you are going to a place where there is a chance you might not go second time in your life, then I would say plan for it. And in other cases, if you are traveling throughout India or your native place where you are able or you will be able to go over and over again, then you don't need to plan. You can just go out, enjoy your travel, and enjoy shooting as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And
Jagdishji, please go ahead.
I mean, I want to just add one point, Himadri, here.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
people ask me also this question, right? The dilemma is you need to consider what are you? Are you a traveler who photographs, or are you a photographer who travels? And
Yeah,
if you answer that to yourself, I guess you have your answers. And that basically then, by default, then, everything falls into place. Your planning, your efforts, everything just, gets multifold, definitely. Yeah.
right, right. One more question, like, what is the whisk capture? Can you explain about that?
Viscap, okay, all
I heard.
right. So you're talking about Viscapades. Viscapades, I
Yeah,
think, is just a brainchild of Himadri, Rajan, myself, and another friend of ours, Subhash Bhai. Where we thought we have done, we've fiddled around in the field a little too much. People like our work a little bit, so we thought, why not, just try to it's time to pass on what we've learned a little bit to people and expand it. So the whole idea is to not just run photography tours just for the sake of it, but really enable people become better landscape photographers. I mean, in Viscapades, our primary focus is to help people learn shoot nature landscapes, and we plan our workshops pan India, wherein on multi-day workshops where we take care of end-to-end logistics of people traveling with us, and they travel the way we travel. They photograph the way we photograph, the way we learn and analyze the scene, and make images and then process images and things like that. So essentially, and all of this, by the way, with the end product of building a better photography network, making friends for lifetime. So the whole idea is to just continue that journey and just share that journey that we are on with people, like-minded people. So it is probably not a kind of a tours and travels sort of a workshop where event where people are just gone, people are taken to certain spots and then let them be what they're doing. We here take people from a photographic point of view, and we teach them. We really get involved with them. Like Himadri said, there are times we don't shoot ourselves, we just stand by next to our participants and we enable them what they're doing, and fine tune course correct them, and in the process enable them. So that's what Viscapades is, and you can pretty much follow our Instagram handle, for our website viscapades.in, and check our yearly calendar where we different times, sometimes either Himadri leading it to myself or Rajan, and we just take people over there. So yes, we have a
We
tour, by the
have,
way, guys.
in fact, we
Yeah,
have an upcoming tour of Spiti in July. So we still have one seat remaining or two seats?
we have about one seat still, but I guess people have been pinging me, so I guess we got to call it a stop.
Yeah.
I'm kind of getting overwhelmed now. So yeah,
Yeah.
we still have one seat though. Yeah.
One thing that I'd like to add here that Puneet missed out on mentioning. So Viscapades is a single word that has been created out of two words: visual escapades. So
Yes.
whatever we see in front of us when we are traveling, uh, it happens visually, right? We see it with our eyes. So, and all these outings are escapades for us, where if one of us is escaping into that world because he's tired of his work, another one will be escaping into that world because he wants to draw inspiration from nature. Another one would be escaping into that part because he or she would like to be connected with nature. So all these things we would like to categorize under escapades. That is why Viscapades, which is a word that has come out from visual escapades. So that's
So
what
it's
we do, and also it's a way of uh, making a larger community of like-minded people, connecting with like-minded people, or making people think in our lines so that we are able to do something big eventually.
absolutely, absolutely.
I think Tanay had a question, and also there is another question after Tanay. What was Tanay's question? I saw him say something.
I might have to scroll up, but I guess another question is like, while traveling, what lenses? Maybe Himadri, just scroll up and see what lenses we prefer, right? Yeah. The thing is, landscape
I'm
photographers,
checking.
we are still lacking the concept of exploring new places and bring them to audience worldwide. as photographers, people are still going to known places. Very, very well put, Tanay. Very well. So that's exactly what Viscapades, like the point that we're trying to mention, right? We just don't want to do. We as people, as photographers, don't want to just go to the off the beaten path. We want to really explore more. And when I say that, that's the reason why we're exploring a lot of places in southern India, or for that matter, northeast India, where usually it's still the scene is, unexplored relatively. But but respecting the places by doing it with responsibility, by doing it by traveling sustainably. First, we need to become a better traveler and then a better photographer. So yes, Tanay, I do agree with you. There's a lot of scope for us to be really, exploring the places and doing that responsibly. But that's what we are trying to do. That's what we are trying to do, and love to shoot alongside you, Tanay. Sometimes it's been a long pending thing. So yes, definitely.
Yeah.
And I
Kaiser
guess
Iron asks, while traveling in general, what lenses should you carry with you? It depends. If I know I am traveling in a car, then I'll carry all the lenses that I might possibly need. But when I was trekking in KGL, when I went for the KGL trek, I just went in with a camera and two lenses. That's it, nothing else. And I did not even carry all my filters. I carried the Nisi CPL, the Nisi ND64 CPL, and those were the only two filters that I carried with my two lenses. One was the one was
1635, of course.
one was 1635. The other one was, I think, 24-120. It was 24-120. I carried these two lenses.
Yeah.
So it depends on how you are traveling, where you are traveling, on what mode you are traveling. Also, it depends on whether you are flying to your location, because again, when you are flying, then you will come across this weight limitation of 15 kilos and 7 kilos. 15 kilos for your check-in baggage, 7
Yeah.
kilos for your hand carry.
Yeah.
So you have to keep these things in mind when you are deciding on what lenses to carry. Recently, in fact, Sanhita Di and Chayan joined me for a personalized trip of personalized photo tour of Meghalaya. So they asked me beforehand itself that what are the things that I need to carry. I just said, because we share the same Nikon system, I asked them to come with their wide lenses, and if at all they would require any zoom lens, then they could borrow mine, because there is no
Yeah.
point carrying too many things when you are sharing the same like camera systems. I use Nikon, they were also using Nikon. So to reduce the weight and so that they could carry something else that is important for them, I asked them not to carry the zoom lens, because I already have the zoom lens and they can borrow it from me. When you are doing landscapes, particularly in places like Meghalaya, you need more of wide lenses than zoom lenses. There will be hardly one or two instances where you'll be using the zoom lens. But if you are traveling to Ladakh, you will need both the wide lens and the
Yes.
zoom lens. So do
Yes.
not miss out on both.
Yes.
Right.
But I guess still, if we were to like look for one answer, there's no one answer. But I guess usually the range of 24 to 70 or 24 to 105 or 120 is a good general purpose zoom lens that you can use pretty much for all sorts of things that you want to shoot if you want to travel light. I guess. Yeah.
One
So
more question.
So
I think
Abhilash has another question.
yeah.
I take
So
pictures that feels good and then I edit it. And when I post, I feel the pictures are over edited or wrong composition. So how can I overcome this problem? You can overcome this problem by doing two things. Uh, uh, Developing your eye as a good observer, and second thing is developing your processing skills, because if this is when it comes to processing, it is an ever evolving thing that happens with you.
absolutely,
If you look
absolutely,
at my images 3 years down the line, I don't like any of those images. That happens, I think that happens with everyone. If you look at my images today, I like some of them, I don't like all of them. If I look at my images from today, maybe after 2 years, I will find problems with my images that I have posted today. So it's a evolving thing. So it is not wrong to feel that you have over edited your images, because when it comes to again, editing and processing are two different terms. So we as photographers, we need to understand what to use when. When you say editing, it means collecting images to create a story, or presenting images to create a story. When you are doing processing, that is particularly processing, and that is not editing. So here I presume you are talking about post processing. So what I'd say is, when you are processing, it all depends on the skills that you have at that point of time, processing skills that you have at that point of time,
That's
which will develop 6 years down, 6 months down the lane, which will further develop uh, 1 year down the lane. So this is a evolving thing. So it's okay. You'll gradually overcome this problem.
yes.
There is
And
no
speaking of,
shortcut to overcome this.
and I guess just to add to this, speaking of composition, I think as photographers, we all know, right? Why do we shoot? Fundamental question: why do we shoot? We shoot to tell a story, and a story comes with the composition. So you cannot say, I mean, that I shot it and I'm not liking the composition. That's absolutely fine, because it's a constant learning curve. So you have to shoot. I mean, when you're talking about, you need to first think, what are you shooting and why are you shooting it, and that basically dictates your composition. And once your composition is set, then you can always, by the way, go and play with the composition, go with different crops, go with different aspect ratios. So maybe the things that you're not liking, maybe you will like it in a different crop, maybe a 1:1 crop, a square crop, maybe in a different 16:9 crop. Because most of the cameras, go with the standard crop of 3:2. What we do as photographers generally, we just take that image, shoot it, process it, done. Please try out making, a different crops out of those images, 2:1 crops, 16:9 crops, 1:1 crops. Try it out. Maybe that will work. So try out these things and slowly find your zen. And I guess, and then of course you can do a lot of panoramic imagery. Like Himadri and I are huge proponents. I mean, these images, if you see the ones before, most of them are actually panoramic images. If you just go 2 slides before, Jagdish, so they are all panoramic images. So you have to be like shooting scenes spanning 180 degrees left to right, and even for that matter, multi-panel top to right, top to bottom. Yes. So there's no limit to it. So definitely just keep trying and keep failing and keep getting better, I guess.
Yep.
So, yep. So I guess just a quick time check. By the way, speaking of Himadri liking pictures, you might like his images only 3 years later, or it might not like them, but he doesn't like my images. Most of my images are just waste for Himadri. So I want to have
I hate your
Himadri,
images.
and that's why I love Himadri, because he makes me improve. So yes, he's just the.
There
And
was
by the way, I'm
a
serious.
question. When making
Okay.
a multiple,
No comments.
no comment.
Yeah, Jagdish.
Okay. When making a multiple panorama where the dynamic range is high, how do you control the exposure?
So a classic example is right there in front of you. The top row middle image. It is a 3-row panorama where I took 33 frames, and in those 33 frames there are 165 images. So how 165 images? That is, each frame has a bracket of 5, 0, +1, +2, and -1, -2. So 33 into 5, it comes to, if I'm not mistaken, 165. So to handle the entire range of dynamic range that you see in front of you, because I am shooting the scene from inside a cave. So if you look at the first image, that is Fefe Falls, and in that image there is a small cavity behind the falls. So I went inside that cavity and took the second shot. Now to create that second shot, I could not fill in the entire scene in a single shot.
Yeah.
That's why I went for the multi-row panorama. And there are 3 rows. In each row, there are 11 images. And because there are 11 images in each row, there are 33 frames. Sorry, not 11 images, 11 frames. So in each frame, there are 5 images, and then you come back, then you make your system cry when you are trying to process this entire range of data and process it into one image. So yeah, to handle the dynamic range, you will always have to go for bracketed shots, unless you are shooting with very high-end cameras that have a very good dynamic range. Probably the same scene, if today I shoot it with my Z8, I might have to go for probably a 2-shot bracket.
Yeah.
And not go for the 5-shot that I did it back then. And this image is from 2019. So if I approach the same image today, my approach will be slightly different.
But I guess, Himadri, you would agree that the mantra basically is, when in doubt or when in crisis, shoot brackets. Basically, what I'm trying to say is you have to shoot, you have to bracket your exposures. I think that is, there are multiple ways. You can use filters and, do a lot of things, but shooting, trying to cover different exposures, and by exposures we mean obviously the ISO setting and the f stop are not going to change. What is going to change is the shutter speed, so that you capture the darkest part of the scene and the brightest parts of the scene, and later come in and try to pick the best of them and try to merge them to closely match what it looked to the human eye, because obviously cameras are getting better, definitely sensors are getting better, but to replicate what the human eye sees, you have to blend. So essentially the idea is to bracket shots, and that is, if nothing works, bracketing always does. More often than not it does, I would say. And not just for exposure, it could be for focus, it could be for just about any reason that you might want to shoot. If you're doing a travel photography, for that matter, there will be people in the scene. You might want to shoot the entire panorama of the scene and there are people, so you probably a nifty trick would be to shoot one part of the scene when there is no person, and then just wait, then pan and wait when there is no person in another part of the scene, but and likewise just ensure that, and then pick all those scenes and merge them together to just ensure that there are no people in the scene. So bracketing or taking multiple shots of the same scene is the ultimate answer as a photographer, is what I've learned so far.
Yep.
Yep.
So there is another question. What do you do when you are overwhelmed by the beauty of that place right after you reach and you have little time to shoot? Often we are carried away by the adrenaline. So here I can speak for both me and Puneet. So what I would do is I will take only one shot, and Puneet will take 100 shots in 5 minutes.
And not of the same, not just the same composition, different compositions, everything possible.
Yeah, different composition. He will try to do everything in those 5 minutes, while I will be taking one shot and I will be telling him, come back, we have to go. We are running out of time. So, but yeah, jokes aside, when you are overwhelmed by the scene, I would say you put aside your camera and just experience the moment. That is what you need to do as an artist.
Yes.
Because you won't come across such overwhelming moments all the time.
Yes.
So as I mentioned earlier, that total solar eclipse was an overwhelming moment for me, and it was like I had to make sure that I took some time off from the shooting, and I captured it within me, captured the moment within me, physically, mentally. I looked around what is happening to the shadows. I looked around what is happening in the horizon. I looked around what the other people were doing around me, and then I looked up at the sun, and I could see the corona flaring up with my naked eyes. So that experience you will never get when you are only shooting.
Don't forget the
so you have to experience it.
Don't forget the stars we saw at 2 p.m. at 3 p.m.
Yeah, stars as well. Stars and the golden light that was there in the horizon. It was as if sunset. Yeah.
Yes.
It was as if evening. So yeah.
Unreal.
I think something has happened to Jagdish ji's screen, because
Okay, the colors are
I
locked. Yeah.
see the images in odd colors.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. How to
That's
work on
like
post
mostly the
processing?
live issue.
Okay. Okay. That's- So how to work on post processing? I would say keep on practicing, look at other people's work, and try to imitate other people. Because how do we learn? I
Yeah.
keep on saying that
Yeah.
thing. When we were kids, when we got into our uh, pre-primary classes or class 1 or class
Yeah.
2, we
Yeah.
used to learn how to write ABCD by imitating what our sir or madam wrote on the blackboard, right? They will
Yes.
say, write A like this, write B like this. So once we started writing words, once we started understanding sentences, then we started framing our own sentences. The same thing goes for post processing as well. Try to imitate what other people are doing and then try to develop your own style, or then try to stick to one particular style that you can connect with
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
continue with that. So
And
that is what I'd
also,
say when it comes to working on post processing.
and that style, Himadri would agree, would continually evolve over time, would change over time as well.
Yeah, it will. It
Yeah.
will.
So true that. And I guess another thing is like about the processing part, right? You can what you can also do is try to use, let's say if we talk about Lightroom, right? And there, or any plugins for that matter, there are presets, right? Preset, as the name says, right? They're just some set effects which are predefined, right? And you can just apply to your image and directly it gives a certain effect, right? I'm not saying you apply those presets and present your images. I'm saying you apply those and then see what settings have those effects changed, those presets have changed, so that you can learn. So basically leverage the tools which are there even today. Try to reverse engineer from them, try to reverse understand from them as to why was that certain effect created, making those certain setting changes, like what the contrast was changed or the color was tweaked or sharpness was changed or was converted to monochrome or whatever, right? So, and when you learn that, then you start applying it in your own way. And I guess that is what learning processing is. Definitely learning from others' work. Definitely there is no dearth of tutorials today on internet, on all sorts of platforms. Try leveraging them, try using them. And I would say sometimes learning from professional photographers and their tutorials definitely pays. Consider that as an investment. Why not? Because if they are the masters in their field, they have definitely some insight to offer. And like most good things in life, they don't always come free. Fine, pay for them, learn from them, but then develop your own style from that, basically. If you talk about plugins, right? Nick plugins have always been great, especially the Nick Color FX Pro for color processing of the images, or Analog FX Pro for convert. Most of my monochromes are converted first on in Silver FX Pro. Obviously, there is a Nick's denoise feature that I plugin that I use a lot. That's amazing. It's called Define. So Nick plugins are absolutely amazing. They come for both Lightroom and Photoshop. But if you have Nick plugins and you have Lightroom and Photoshop, you are good enough. You have a good starter set to continue. I guess Jagdish, we're already way
Yeah.
past time, I believe, and we can just continue.
Yeah.
By the way, if you don't stop
I
us,
just
we will
wanted
not
to
stop.
add one thing
Yeah, yeah,
for edit process. So
uh-huh.
everybody the amateur photographers or beginner photographers are not using a calibrated monitors, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for that, everybody just wanted to just understand about whenever you go to edit. So first thing you have to calibrate your monitor, so they
Yes,
can produce a proper colors what you shoot,
yeah,
right? So data color is providing that one of the device, they will help you to the calibrate your monitor. Okay, so what do you
yes,
think
yes.
about Puniji?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, that goes without saying. It's like setting certain ground rules, right? If you want to take good mobile pictures, then you have to have a mobile with good camera, right? And good sensor capabilities, likewise. So yes, if you're working on your pictures, you need to have a color calibrated monitor for best results, for results which are consistent across different displays, be it on phone or be it on different monitors. Definitely. And yes, I have to admit that even I keep periodically color calibrating my monitor, and then tools like, the either data color ones, or there's another called Color Monkey, or I'm forgetting the name of that. So these tools definitely are great, and I guess ImagineNext is another great resource, great one-stop place to be buying such gear. And Jagdish, glad that you actually brought this point out, because I refer to a lot of gear, from ImagineNext website and from Nikita's
Yeah,
websites. So
as of
definitely, yes, yes,
all the viewers wanted to understand about what is the ImagineNext.
definitely,
ImagineNext is India's first website who can only dedicated for photography and videography equipment sellers. So this is the only one website where you can find all the equipments like camera, lenses, gimbal, accessories, whatever you wanted to buy in our field, like camera and photography and videography perspective. So this is the only one website. I think Puniji, it's right? Because
yes,
it's only one website who can give you all the details. Also, there was a one pixel village, one of the one category. There is a one more page inside. You can see there was a photography equipments are like the people are confused between how to buy, like how to make informed decisions every time. So people are confused between to buy the product. So they was already going to the Flipkart, Amazon kind of website. So they doesn't understand about what we need exactly,
yeah,
right? So ImagineX
yeah,
has a one more option like you guys. So there was a professional photographers are listed over there. What are the gears those are using? What kind of categories are there? The field,
yes,
what field is there? So this is the ImagineX is like the segregate the all the whole the concept like photography, videography, audio, and lighting sense, right? So this is the main funda, and thank you for giving me a time, Puniji and uh, uh,
Himadri.
uh,
And I guess you can
Jagdish
come.
sir.
We want to see your face as well. We have seen these
Yeah,
our
yeah,
boring pictures all the
correct.
time. Yeah,
So just
yeah.
can you tell me about photography, like landscape photography about? Like I just wanted to understand about two things more.
Hmm.
This type of photographs, you can see this. One second. It's, it's producing the different colors basically. I just wanted to understand about this photograph. How to
Hmm.
take this photo exactly
So, like
wanted
I
to
said,
know.
right?
So basically, yeah.
Yes, it's nothing. I mean, if you see, right, if you just look at it, image and try to study it, you can very well tell that it is something taken. There's a mountain. There's I can call it a mountain, and a great mountain hill called Gwanbu Rongzon in Zanskar. It is something which is taken from very far, so that a lot of the scene, expense of the scene is covered, and you can also see that the Milky Way, the whole Milky Way band, right, is just spanning across. So to take this, to really capture this, is certainly not possible from within a single frame. So anyone looking at it can probably tell it's a panorama image, right? Which it is. And also it has a lot of foreground, it has a lot of sky part to the image. So definitely it is not just a single row panorama where you just shoot. It is a multi-row panorama where you shoot, then you shoot up, then you shoot even more up, and then repeat it for the whole sequence. And then you come back and stitch those images to create one single image, and then probably crop it to just to your liking. So that is how you can create these images. Now coming to the stars part of it, capturing the star data, it is some of the basic things that we have, everybody applies when they're shooting extro landscapes. I mean, shooting the sky features, probably a setting of around 15 seconds at ISO 3200 or 6400 at the widest open aperture. In this case, it was f4, but f2.8 is even better. And then, you repeat the whole sequence with the same settings for sky. But with such settings, your foreground would literally be nothing, because if you're seeing such clear star details, that means it's a very dark sky. There's no moon there, and there's no light pollution there. That also means there is no light on the foreground. So that basically means you cannot. These exposures are so short, they're very short to really cover the foreground. That's why you need separate shots with longer shutter speeds, probably spanning in minutes for the foreground. And then what you end up is, taking the foreground part from one set of images, sky part from another set of images, and that's how you can create such images.
थैंक यू फॉर अभी तो बहुत टाइम हो गया हमें हमें
Yes,
एनीवेज
हम लोग
लॉट्स ऑफ
रुकेंगे
टाइम
नहीं.
टेकिंग
So I guess yes. Let's just call it a day or call it a night. Maybe we can continue the series of talks going forward. Yeah, it'll be amazing. It was amazing. It was amazing.
Yeah, yeah,
What say, Himadri?
no problem. So thank you for coming and share your experience about. So thank you, and it's a whole concept about the ImagineX is doing the same way to introduce landscape photography knowledge about it. So thank you, sir, and bye for now.
And on the parting notes,
Thank
you
you
guys
so
can
much
always
for having
yeah
us.
yeah and feel free guys to contact us, myself, Himadri, DM us on Instagram, and then we are always approachable and we can discuss. If you have any questions, some of these questions we probably could not answer, you can always ping us, and we are happy to help. And do check out
Yep. Yep.
Viscapades.in and the Viscapades, Viscapades. Like Himadri said, it's a portmanteau for visual escapades. Do visit us and stay tuned on our latest photography workshop calendars. And I guess before we go, we should take a picture, guys. I think some of us, one of our friends who are there, probably did you? If you are there or someone, please do take a few pictures. Please, Jagdish, we want you in the frame. Let's take a picture and let's take a selfie to sign it off.
How do we minimize this text and take a beautiful
So
photographs?
yeah, you probably cannot. Uh, that's how it is. You just can just scroll up and whatever the last text that remains. Jagdish, we want you to be on the screen, please. Let's take a picture and say a good night. Jagdish, can you
Also,
hear us?
while everyone is waiting for us to take the photograph, I'd like to say that if there are questions which we may have missed, you can
Yeah.
approach us directly in our DM,
Yeah.
me or
Yes.
Puneet. You can ask your questions and we will definitely answer them.
I guess we. Jagdish, can you hear us? We
Jagdish,
want you to be on the screen for this.
hello, hello, hello. Jagdish.
I guess there's some technical
Hello,
glitch or network
hello,
glitch on
hello.
the side.
Yeah,
Yeah.
some technical errors are coming in.
Right. So
Yeah,
maybe you can
Jagdish,
just
we want
yeah.
to see
Can
your
you just
face.
Yeah, basically technical errors are coming in. My camera is off, basically.
okay.
So we'll
Okay.
again
Okay.
I'll just posted this video. Like अगर कोई भी अगर मिस आउट
Okay.
कर रहा हो ये वीडियो को अगर वापस आप देख सकते हैं इमेजिनेक्स के पेज पे ओके
It was amazing.
सो
ठीक है, वो
It
थैंक
was
हम
यू
लोग
amazing. Yeah.
स्टोरी में
वंस
शेयर कर
अगेन
देंगे फिर.
Yes.
यस सर थैंक यू सर बाय टेक केयर
Bye bye. Thank you
Thank
guys.
you so
Thanks
much,
for having us
everyone.
here.
Good night. Bye bye.